Hey there, from the KUOW newsroom, this is Seattle Now. I'm Gustavo Sagrero with a roundup of today's top stories. It's Monday, October 20th. Seattle activists say approximately 90,000 people joined Saturday's No Kings rally at Seattle Center. It was one of about 50 demonstrations that took place around the state against the Trump administration. Governor Bob Ferguson spoke to a crowd that gathered in Everett.
As your governor, I promise you one thing above all else. We will never, ever, under any circumstances, bend the knee to this autocrat.
Organizers of the rally say the demonstrations were a success and overwhelmingly peaceful. Some Republicans dismissed the rallies as a, quote, hate America movement. Meanwhile, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled that President Trump can send National Guard troops to Portland for now. The court's ruling today overturned a temporary restraining order put in place by a federal judge in Portland that prevented the Trump administration from sending troops. It was not immediately clear whether or when troops would be deployed in Portland. The ruling comes after a series of Trump authorizations to deploy Guard troops to cities including Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and Chicago. Trump has said the deployments are necessary to protect the work of ICE agents and reduce crime. With more people lacking shelter in Washington state than ever before, homelessness has become a big issue in Seattle's mayoral election. John Ryan reports.
I'm on the interurban trail in North Seattle where a homeless camp is being removed. That's a garbage truck crushing up some pallets and other stuff. Some of the people being removed declined to be interviewed. One told me their misfortune is not entertainment.
Homeless sweeps have increased under Mayor Bruce Harrell. His campaign says the number of tents and RVs serving as homes has fallen sharply as a result. Challenger Katie Wilson says Harrell's frequent sweeps are just chasing vulnerable people around the city. She says Harrell has let the number of shelter beds in the city fall. Both candidates promise they'll boost the city's supply of affordable housing. Meanwhile, President Trump is cutting federal housing funds and calling for homeless people to be forced into treatment programs. John Ryan, KUOW News.
There are now just 7 judges handling some 50,000 pending immigration cases in Seattle. This comes after yesterday's reported firing of Judge Susana Reyes, who was just about to complete her 2-year probationary period. The Seattle Times reports the Trump administration let her go without reason. The union representing the judges says nationally, administration officials fired 24 immigration justices last month. Union leaders say the administration appears to be targeting judges hired under President Biden. Seattle Congressman Adam Smith is demanding a congressional hearing on the Trump administration's use of military strikes on boats in the Caribbean. The U.S. military has attacked 7 boats since early September and killed 30 people. The Trump administration alleges the boats were involved with various drug cartels, which the White House has labeled as terrorist organizations. Colombian President Gustavo Petro says one of the most recent strikes killed a Colombian fisherman. Smith says the Trump administration has not presented any evidence to support their claims that the vessels posed imminent threats to the United States. The Mariners are in Toronto for a decisive Game 7 of the American League Championship Series tonight. Seattle Now sports correspondent Vaughn Jones has more.
If the M's want to make their first ever World Series, it's not going to come easy. After an up-and-down series against the Toronto Blue Jays, they're facing yet another win-or-go-home game. M's manager Dan Wilson said Monday afternoon, the Mariners have faced plenty of games down the stretch where they've had to win, and they're ready to do it again.
I think these guys have developed a good strategy on how to deal with that. And so, Game 7, it's an incredible opportunity. And I think these guys see that for that. And, we'll go out there and do what they do.
The Mariners will have pitcher George Kirby on the mound. Kirby allowed 8 runs against Toronto in Wednesday's loss. Win or lose, this is the furthest the Mariners have ever made it in the postseason. Vaughn Jones, KUOW News.
Now, our feature story today. When the federal government's cuts to Medicaid take effect, rural hospitals in Washington state will be hit hard and some could close, leaving people to drive an hour or more to the next closest option. Eilish O'Neill went to a hospital in Dayton in the middle of Washington state's wheat-growing Palouse region to learn more.
Driving into Dayton, the first things you see are about a dozen enormous grain silos. Elise Sevier grew up here. Her parents are wheat farmers. Now, she and her husband, a wind engineer for Puget Sound Energy, live in town with their 3 daughters.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Mom. Mom, today?
The Seviers are no strangers to the hospital emergency room. Like a couple of weeks ago, when one of them fell as she was getting out of the car.
My foot got stuck in the seat, and then I was head first falling down, and then I hit my head on a piece of wood.
She split her head open. At the ER, they glued it back together. Or there was the swimming pool incident this summer, which happened to a different sister.
I stepped on this drain, and my foot fell in, and I pulled it back out. There was blood dripping down my leg.
They went to the hospital. She needed stitches. But one of the scariest incidents was 2 years ago. Elise Sevier was getting her middle daughter, Maddie, ready for kindergarten, brushing her hair, when Maddie said she didn't feel good.
And then her head tilted back, and you could see her eyes go back, and all of the color just went away. Like her lips were dark gray.
Elise gently laid her daughter on the ground.
I noticed she wasn't breathing, and so you do your knuckle rub on their sternum to get them to respond. And she didn't. Sorry. I don't like thinking about it.
Elise's husband was ready to start CPR.
And I was able to call 911, and they were here really quick.
The Sevier family lives just a few minutes' drive from the Dayton General Hospital. The next closest hospital is in Walla Walla, 45 minutes away.
And it is just, I can't imagine having to put her in the car and then drive for a very long distance. You know, you wish you could teleport and be there even quicker.
When the ambulance picked Maddie up and took her to the ER, the doctors there said she'd had a kind of seizure small children can get. They told her parents she'd be fine. Here's what's coming down the pike for rural hospitals. When the federal government's changes to Medicaid take effect, 300,000 Washington state residents are expected to lose their health coverage.
Roughly 1 in every 20 Washingtonians is going to lose their health coverage in the next few years.
Emily Bryce is co-executive director of Northwest Health Law Advocates. Rural America is poorer, older, and sicker than more urban areas. And so rural hospitals like Dayton General rely on income from Medicaid and Medicare.
You'll have hospitals and other providers who are seeing an increase in uncompensated care, emergency room visits, and the like.
If hospitals don't have as many patients who can pay walking in the door, that won't just affect people on Medicaid. It will affect everyone, including people like the Sevier family who have health insurance through an employer.
It's not like a total closure of services. You're not going to be there one day and gone the next.
Shane McGuire has been the CEO of Dayton's hospital for almost a decade.
What's going to happen is you're going to unwind services to a point where you're no longer a resource for your community, and then you might close. We're all going to fight like heck to try to prevent that from happening.
Dayton's hospital is already operating on the brink. 15 days cash on hand, when a financially healthy hospital should have 120 days.
It's pretty challenging day to day to deal with the things coming at you.
McGuire says he's currently running numbers on which services his hospital should cut, if it comes down to that.
I don't sleep well at night. I worry. I worry about our patients and our organization.
McGuire says just the day before, 2 trauma cases came into the hospital, one from a car crash and one involving a tractor.
We provided life-saving interventions, and we were able to get them out of here on a helicopter. And you just can't help but worry about what if we're not here.
The changes to Medicaid are slated to take effect in about a year. In the meantime, hospitals are lobbying state and federal legislators, asking them to find a fix that keeps more people insured. Elisha O'Neill, KUOW News.
Next time on Seattle Now, we talk about the months-long manhunt for Travis Decker. One major challenge for authorities was the search terrain.
It was so steep and so rocky that you could stand on the slope, reach your arm out, and touch the other side, the ground in front of you because it's so steep.
Hear that Tuesday morning. And that's it from us in the KUOW newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Andy Hurst, and I'm Gustavo Sagrero. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. See you around.